Hi, this is my presentation. It's a sample for the APA 360 Japanese American Experiences. The poem that I'm going to talk about today is called Family Ties by Pat Mora. Pat Mora was a Latina poet, and she wrote this in 2000. Family Ties. Though I shop for designer jeans, uniforms make me smile. Chalk white uniforms in store windows remind me of my grandmother who refused to learn English, who laughed with the woman from the canneries when they all filled her small home with the smell of fish, filled her hands with crumpled dollars in exchange for the white garments piled in pale pink boxes throughout the house. My grandmother preferred to shop in the grocery stores, preferred buying garlic, onion, chile, beans, to buying me gifts of frilly blouses and barrettes. Hers a life of cooking, cleaning, selling. But when I shyly showed my abuelita my good report card or recited the Pledge of Allegiance, my grandmother would smile and hand me a uniform. Never the right size, but a gift I would add to the white stack at the bottom of my closet. I chose this poem because I believe it reflects key themes from our class so far. The first theme is immigration. The second theme is Robert Park's cycle of assimilation for immigrants. And the third is the family ties, which is the name of the poem itself. So immigration. The grandmother was an immigrant to the United States, probably from Mexico, and she chose not to learn English. She chose to retain her mother tongue of Spanish. And this reflects much of what the Issei, the first generation Japanese immigrants, also experienced. Sometimes they had to learn English to work on the plantation or pidgin. But in the case of the woman, many times it was gendered, that the woman who stayed at home, if they could, when they came to the United States, to the mainland and lived on the farms, they would stay within their home. They would do things within the home, and they did not need to learn English as much. And here the abuelita also does not need to learn English because she communicates with the factory workers who are also Mexican American, who are also immigrants, and have found low-wage work in the factories canning fish. And again, this really resembles similar experiences of Japanese immigrants who came and worked menial jobs or service jobs when they first arrived. We also see that there is community along race and gender lines because jobs like the cannery work, like the work on the plantations, like the work on the farms, were segmented by gender and race. So just as we saw there's a racial hierarchy on the plantations, in the canneries, according to Vicky Ruiz's work, Cannery Woman, Cannery Lives, there was also a tendency to put immigrant women on the most menial tasks, which was doing the canning of fish in the cannery. And the males would be the supervisors, so there was a gender hierarchy. We also see a racial hierarchy because it was probably Russian and Mexican immigrant women who were doing this work, again, according to Vicky Ruiz's book. We also see example of assimilation and acculturation. The grandmother refuses to learn English. She stays very prosaic, very practical. She maintains her diet of beans and chile and onions and garlic. The daughter, on the other hand, the granddaughter, on the other hand, is shopping for designer jeans, frilly blouses, and barrettes. There's a very different outlook on life where the grandmother is very practical. How is she going to make money to survive, sustain herself? She has a talent of sewing. She has a skill of sewing, and she sews white uniforms for the women who need these uniforms for their factory work. The granddaughter is not thinking about making money or even making meals. She's thinking about going to the mall and buying designer jeans, frilly blouses, and barrettes. This is Americanization. This is where we see the gender roles assumed by dominant society. What does it mean to be feminine? What does it mean to fit in? Well, designer jeans, especially in the 1970s, were very popular. And so we see the granddaughter part of consumer culture. She's purchasing items, whereas the grandmother's making items. And we see a very different worldview. So I would like to propose that the granddaughter is assimilated. She pretty much is following with American culture. The grandmother, on the other hand, the first generation, is acculturated. She chooses not to speak English, but she understands when her granddaughter shows her a report card or recites the Pledge of Allegiance, so she knows what those mean. And she has picked what she wants from both cultures. And she's proud of her granddaughter too, which also evokes the reason why we talked in the very beginning of the class, why so many people move, why they migrate. It's not always just for immediate economic access, although often it can be. It also is about futurity for the family. It's about providing one's children and grandchildren with a better education and better opportunities. And we see that with the granddaughter. She's going to school, she has a report card. She's learning what it means to be American by citing the Pledge of Allegiance, which is often required in K through 12. And when the grandmother sees this, she's proud of her granddaughter. And how do we know that? We know that because she takes something she has made. This is her labor. This is who she is. She's made these uniforms, and she gives them to her granddaughter. And the granddaughter has a whole stack of these uniforms that don't fit, that she'll probably never wear because she probably is not going to work in a factory. But she treasures them nonetheless because she knows that's a symbol of her grandmother's love for her. And so we see all these themes that are found in the class itself in this poem.